You're listening to the Go Lightly Martial Hour on freedomtalkradio.net. freedomtalkradio.net.
Well, hello there. We've got two Johns in the chat room already. Hello, John. Hello, John. What's this yellow? What's this yellow bit, John Lynch? What's yellow? I'm wearing my orange glasses today. But you can't see that anyway. Anyway, good to be here once again.
It is. Once again, it is very, very pleasurable for you. Not so much for me.
What are you talking about?
Oh.
For me or what are you going on about?
That's a dialectic.
You mean a Hegelian?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, all right. You're covering both sides of the...
Right.
Oh, okay. All right.
How you doing?
That's John Lynch. That's John Hall under Catherine's name there.
I'm going to say.
Hi, Mark. Now, Mark. Mark Saxton. Back again.
I had a dog used to do that.
What? Mark
all the time. Yeah, a dog with a hair lip.
Oh, look, it really is the low rung in the totem pole. We were scraping around this morning. All right, let's get on with the formalities of what day it is. Hey, wait on. It's the 8th of July. Of course it is. Yesterday was the...
Yes, it's funny that, isn't it?
No, what threw me again was that yesterday, which I did note and I got it right, was the 7th of July, is that somebody sent you an email and again it came in ahead of time, dated the 8th of July by the computer.
Yeah.
And then the others were all the 7th, but this one was, anyway, it's just all very odd. And John Lynch. Oh, hello, Eric, Anna. Eric and Anna, you're listening together at the same time. Hello. John says...
both in Germany, or what?
No.
Oh.
Eric is in the USA and Anna's over in Germany. And German time, it's still in the early hours of the morning, so perhaps Anna is not actually listening, but Eric is on her behalf.
Oh, I see.
All right, so hello to everybody. And Ross Manley, g'day, mate. The Aussie bloke down in Newtown, Sydney. Isn't that where Strop came from? Didn't he come from that area? Redfern, Newtown?
Well, you're telling the world who Strop is first.
Strop is. Well, Strop...
I heard of Paul Hogan. Well, Paul Hogan, of course, was a typical Australian comedian. Very, very, very funny man, really. But the fellow that was his manager was called Strop.
Oh, big news. Hello. All right. Anna is with Eric. She's in the USA, of course. Holidays, wonderful.
Yes,
hello, Anna, our girl. Granny, good. Oh, we are so pleased that you're with Eric, and of course Eric is pleased too. It's all wonderful. And Ross is saying that he cannot listen live. My phone will download and listen later. So, but you're able to come into the chat room. Okay, all right. Yes, and it is only the 7th where you're, but it is the 8th here. And yesterday, anyway, it's just this thing that goes on with computers and timing. Remember, yesterday we were talking a little bit about the miracles that happen. Remember the day that the computer talked to us? It was shut down.
Yes.
And then from the computer, a voice spoke to us.
That's right. Lots of weird stuff like that.
I can't remember.
But it started with me when I was in Canada, when I first got computers, of course, and there's all sorts of strange things happening. The strangest one, I suppose, was I had this 286 computer. I mean, it's a little tiny screen, and I think it had something like 1 meg of RAM, even maybe not even that. But this was before Windows. What I had in that particular computer was a little thing that was pre-Windows. It was, if you had several programs in your computer, which I had at the time, I had the Bible program, that kind of thing by then. You'd have a little screen with numbers on them, and that number represented Bible, or it might have represented the Cosmos program, which I also had at that time, or anything else that I had mysteriously and miraculously had come by. So it was very interesting for me at that time to be dealing in by myself and just looking at the computer and the strange things it would do. And the strangest thing it did, I think, was a little screen popped up about, in inches, 4 inches by 3 inches, maybe a little larger. And you could look at the screen, and it was as if you was looking through a window to another platform behind that, about another 4 inches back. I mean, you couldn't do it today even with, well, I suppose modern computers with kids who can do this sort of thing could arrange it so you could see that. But there was an ant trail going around it continuously moving, a little red ant trail. And then at the 4-inch, as you look at this thing, you're looking through the window and you could sort of go one side and the other side, and you could see through this window as if you were walking up to a window in your house, looking outside. And this thing was 4 inches in, and it was a letter. And it was a letter to me. And the letter started to tell me things that I had no idea of at the time. For example, because I was just getting into it, it said that the 888 number in the end, which is Lord Jesus, that it would be used universally around the world. By that time, when this happens, then you'll know. But it's a very long letter, and I couldn't do a screen capture of it or anything like that. I was stunned by what I was reading. But it was saying that it's all talking about me, and that in the end time, you will be universally known, and the 888 number would be used throughout the world. And as you see today, 888 is everywhere. They use it on phone numbers, and they use it on television shows, they use it on license plates, and you name it.
Well, it's also
all over the place.
The digital layout of anything that is digital, even when it's turned off, is 888.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that was the message to me that came, but it was a very, very long, drawn-out letter, and it was explaining basically what is happening today in the world and how I'd be the centre of it. And you've got to keep in mind that I never wanted the job, and I was, at that moment in time, trying to find some other way of maybe identifying another personality that I would be like the John the Baptist figure, if you like, and introduce it all and say, right, and here he is at the end of the day. Well, unfortunately, as it turned out, there would be various clues that would be given me over time, and I didn't really like them as the way it was shaping up, because it was the key of the house of David, and that's in Isaiah 22:22. And of course, my body weight and length when I was a child, when I was born, was the 222 number and all this kind of thing. And I wasn't happy about it. And I think if you was to place yourself in that same position of suddenly being to wake up tomorrow morning, let's say you, John, or Adam, or one of you people out there would find yourself in this position of you're it, and how are you going to work it all out and explain it to a bunch of people that really, there was no communication in those days like emails. I certainly wasn't on email, because the town I lived in, Port Alberni, didn't get into emails until after I left, right? Because whether it was intentional or not, I don't know, but the nearest email was a little town called Nanaimo, which is on the Wondafuka Strait, which is across from Vancouver. And they had emails, but it wasn't nothing like sophisticated like it is today. So if I wanted to do anything on the internet, I had to drive to Nanaimo to go onto the internet. And it was very primitive and expensive. So I didn't do that too often. So I really had no means of communications other than the spiritual nudges I was getting from computers that would change occasionally and do things that I can't even understand today how it happened, because they were miracles. And this is what I was faced with at that time. But having had the experiences as a child where Mary took me back and crashing logging trucks where I got taken up and then brought back by angels and all this kind of stuff, so like, you've got to do it, oh shit moment. As I say, it's not something that I would, or any of you would, elect to do because of the ramifications. Well, first off, you're a lunatic. Secondly, you're going to get no help. You're going to get all the opposition in the world, and we're living in hell. So how do you drag out the inmates of an insane asylum that are enjoying it?
Now, do you remember this? This was a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
I've just uploaded to my Facebook, guys, an example of what happened to Yar in the 90s. And remember, there was nothing then. He was on his 286 IBM monster of a computer. Now, I took this photograph using my Logitech webcam. I turned the webcam around to take a picture of the screen. And as you can see, inside the outside frame are all of these windows that remind me of my painting that I called the Judgment Hall. But there's actually 8 frames on the inside, all the way back until the furthest dot of light in the distance. And the frame, the picture was numbered 88. So with the 8 frames all the way in and the picture number 88, I captured that then, thinking this is one of those moments, and here we are talking about it today. So I've just uploaded it to my Facebook.
As you're looking at that now, and if anyone else is going to see it later on, can you imagine that if you was looking at that, and instead of that just being a picture of a picture of a picture of a picture just going to infinity, think of it as a hole in your screen. And then when you move to the left or move to the right or move down or up, you could see a letter that had been pasted against a wall, and you'll really get through this window that's in the screen, which cannot happen, of course. Now, as I say, some computer wizard might be able to do it, but I can't do it.
Now, the photograph that I've uploaded to my Facebook, I'm holding up now the painting that I painted before I found Yar, probably 2 years before I found him, and I called it the Judgment Hall. That's what it was like for me, the far distant point of light. But of course, looking at it now, after finding him, it also looks like the top of the pyramid with the capstone in place, is what I was told. And of course it does. So these things are pathetic. But that's what our lives are all about. Now, hello, Andrew. And did I say already? Oh,
Andrew Hitchcock, yeah.
Andrew Hitchcock. And Hirad is there. Adam, are you there too? Yes, you are there. You're still awake. For Adam, it's in the early hours of the morning. And he's...
And Andrew, we're waiting for a call from New Guinea.
Yes.
For the update.
Yes.
So we'll let you know what happens.
And then we should be back there ASAP.
Well, whatever happens, we'll address it at that time.
Now,
this letter came through from John
Garner in the USA. No, not the USA. Sorry, the United Kingdom. Postmarked Sheffield. It did take 2 weeks, guys. So that for those of you sending your letters to Yahweh, and this was our experience with the notice of claim. It took 2 weeks via registered mail. This one was not registered, but it took 2 weeks, and the registered mail seems to take 2 weeks as well. So John sent this, and of course you can see that he addressed it to the Lord Jesus Christ, Yahweh, King of Judah, 103 North Shore Avenue, Toogoom, Australia. And I'll read it for you. It's a lovely letter. I've sent a message to John. He was asking about it. So just be aware, those of you that have sent us letters, it does take about 2 weeks to come in. And so John has given all of his address and details, etc. And
Come over a bit, baby.
okay, to the Lord Jesus Christ, Yahweh, King of Judah, 103 North Shore Avenue, Toogoom, Queensland, Australia, 46555. I'll just say here, look, the world knows our internet, all the spy agencies, knows our address. Yeah, it knows our IP address, but knows our physical
Except for the
address.
copper that rang me the other day.
Oh, yeah, well, anyway, who that was, whatever.
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
been up there for the longest time. Don't try to hide anything. We've tried to keep our phone numbers out of it just because...
Because of one woman in particular, Pamela, that would ring me 20 times a day, and I said, fuck you, Pamela, I don't want to ever hear from you ever again. Right? She would drive me nuts. She could not sit down without the phone ringing, she'd be on the phone. So that's it. So we did away with the phone numbers, kept that out.
However, a couple of them are out there now, and
This mad bastard, she would just phone me for the slightest reason, like, hello, middle of the night, doesn't matter.
radio silence. We keep saying radio silence.
Radio silence.
Anyway, John writes, Dear Brian and Martha, I'm not really sure how to address you both, but I guess the best way is to treat you both as respected friends. One thing is for certain, and that is that the world is run by a bunch of crooks that have conned almost everyone on planet Earth since their natural birth. I say almost everyone because their veil of secrecy has been lifted from before the eyes of a growing throng of believers. Sadly, many people are expecting Jesus to appear on a big white horse out of the sky and have failed to understand the meaning of metaphor. This is despite the fact that Jesus always taught by using parables or marshals. The allegorical nature of all the biblical stories means that discernment is called for. And John goes on to say that in the early 70s I was going through a bad time with my marriage, and so I sought God, Jesus, in the church, but didn't find any solace there. However, it was when I was sitting in the sergeant's mess and contemplating on the name Jesus, when I experienced the glow. A warm, fuzzy feeling flowed through me. At the time, I didn't fully understand that God speaks to me in this way when I'm in attunement with the vibration of the will of God. Goes on, the kingdom of God is certainly within the mind of every human being, in my humble opinion. To enter the kingdom, the pineal gland has to be activated. Now, I will bring correction here because John, who has found us through the group in the United Kingdom, has come in fairly recently. And I know it's very much the teaching of the deactivation through calcification of the pineal gland, etc., etc., etc.
Which is true.
Which is true. However, but the kingdom of God is actually found by becoming like a small child. In other words, laying down everything that you have learned in this life. And when you are hearing plainly the Christ speak to you and revealing the truth, which is really quite simple. It's, anyway, he says, I guess a lot of meditation is required. No. But it could be that the gland has been deliberately calcified.
That's true.
And this is all true. Perhaps the elite have intentionally caused this over-calcification due to faulty dietary ingredients, adding chemicals to our water supplies and chemicals sprayed in the skies, etc. Yes, that is all true. This letter is dual purpose in that it is addressed to the Lord Jesus Christ, and provided it is accepted by the post office and then the Royal Mail and then subsequently delivered to Brian in Australia, it will serve as proof positive that Brian is accepted by the British Crown as the reincarnated soul of Jesus. The second part of this letter is to act as an affidavit to signify that I, John Garner, am a naturally born human being who claims sovereignty of this body of water and bear allegiance only to God and the natural laws of the Creator God. My seal is my signature that overrules any attempt by the earthly empress, but that is referring to Elizabeth, or her agents to rule over me. You'll be witness to the fact that the Empress stamp, and he's referring to Elizabeth's stamp at the top of the page and then once more at the bottom of the page. The Empress's stamp has been attached top and bottom of this document, and that my signature over and above her head signifies that all ties to the Crown authority have been broken, and that I alone, as the live, living and breathing person, am responsible for the incarnated soul that dwells within me. It is the overwriting of the stamp that gives this document the same lawful authority as if it were signed by a notary. He says, I am truly sorry for the fact that my parents were responsible for registering me in HM, Her Majesty's Port of Authority Register. But they did not have my consent at the time, and the certificate they issued is now, by the authority vested in me, null and void. The certificate issued was part of an elaborate scam to claim authority over me and to put me in their hold. I refuse to be beholden to their authority and will only act in accordance with their laws on the proviso that they are in alignment with natural law. Any of their maritime laws, statutes, rules and regulations cannot therefore be acknowledged as having any lawful weight if, when, out of alignment with natural law. True justice is about natural God's law, and I am sworn by this oath to uphold it. I have great pleasure in this written affidavit as giving formal recognition of Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall as the reincarnated soul of Jesus Christ. With much love and appreciation, John Garner. So thank you, John. This is the first to be received.
Historically, it's a first, and wonderful. I really very much appreciate it. And I'd like to say that the Queen is just a piece of flesh that has been taken over by demons, of course. And all of you are above her. All of you.
Yes, and I guess this was my point yesterday. They have no authority. These social
authority over her.
These social services that come because they have defrauded everybody into believing that they have authority have none. And that was reiterated over and over and over by the journalist who has been exposing their games for now decades. And the police they have suckered into, the police have no authority as well. And so going back over yesterday's show where we said, first of all, don't answer the door to any of them. Do not respond to them. And it should be a simple matter to get this application or something happening in your communities where when they are at the door, do not respond, do not even deign to speak to them, but get a call out to your community, and the men of the community come and surround these interlopers, these devils, surround them as they're at the door while the occupants inside do not respond, do not speak, do not try to engage, the straw man, free man, all the rest of it. Do not let them in, do not respond in any way.
So if you've got a couple of dozen men walking up to you with masks on, with cricket bats over their shoulder, as if they were an army walking towards you, I think I'd be packing the shits and taking out everything out of context and see you later. There might be no more knocking on my door, nor would I return, because that's one of the messages that you have to tell these people when they come to someone's door. Can you imagine? I mean, I've been a father and I was very much in love with my child when she was born, and someone taking that baby away from me would have been the most devastating thing that a human being would have to suffer. And to have these thugs go in there and take in particular from a mother, where the baby has come from the mother's body, a father is close enough to a child, but a mother is closer. And for that reason, these monsters can come in there and the policeman can stand there getting $1,000 or pounds a week, whatever they get paid in England, and they have to go along with it because of some Jewish law? Come on. The most important thing you've got to remember is what's righteous. Righteous law dominates. For example, if you was a soldier in an army and you were told to go into someone's house and shoot everybody in it, would you do it? Well, I certainly wouldn't. So this is what the moral obligation is of all human beings who are in an army and even in an act of war. You don't do things that are against your conscience. So that's it. So you don't allow these monsters to go into a woman's home, whether she be a single mother or not, whether she's having home birth or not, as we've seen in that movie. It's got nothing whatsoever. She is a deity in her own right, and she has the right to do what she wishes to do. Now, if a woman has a child, and I've done this myself, if you have a child that's playing up, smack it across the arse. Right? So that's your right to do that, to raise your child and give it a bit of discipline now and then. I don't mean bash the hell out of it on a daily basis or use mental cruelty, but when someone does something, whack them.
Yeah. I've told this before that I was very cautious in bringing up my 4 children, and actually this is quite laughable now, but I had to go through the scenario of the born-again Christian bit and all the rest of it. I did. That's where I learned the Bible inside, and I can tell Jesus here why people think the way they do. But as a mother, I was very cautious in what my children saw, heard, and certainly what came out of their mouths. Now, granted, I did have 3 daughters before my son, but they were not allowed to behave inappropriately in any which way but loose. And the girls, for the most part, didn't. Aaron was the only one that I did use the bar of soap to wash her mouth out when she was pushing the envelope and used a word that was on my banned list. And shut up was even on there. So my children were not allowed to say shut up. But anyway...
say fuck was all right.
No, not even. That's why they're so surprised nowadays as they hear their mother using the F word. But anyway, you all know why it's the acronym. And as I say to people, a well-placed fuck out of the mouth of the mother of all living does tend to get somebody's attention. But to give you an example, we lived in Canada and the United States for a total of 14 years, and everybody knows what the USA has become over there. You cannot discipline your children without somebody reporting you, and this was in, I think, 1994 or 5, in a small town. No, it was in Bellingham, so it was 96, 97. No, 94, 95. That's the phone. Can you go and answer it, please? It might be the births, deaths and marriages. Yeah, sorry. Adam was playing up. He was just a small boy, 4 or 5 years old. And we were in a supermarket in Washington. And Washington State, USA. Yes, babe, what's that?
Hang up as the answer.
Oh, interesting. Perhaps they'll ring back. Or not. Anyway, Adam, we're in a supermarket and he was wanting something that I was saying, no, you cannot have it. It was something stupid. And I wasn't in the habit of buying junk in any which way or whatever. But Adam was carrying on like a pork chop, putting on a tantrum.
Can you define what a pork chop carries on like?
Pork chop on a barbecue, sizzle, carries on and spits and spatters all over the place. So I just said, Adam, got to go to the bathroom. So I took him into the bathroom and I sat him on the toilet, pulled his pants down, sat him on the toilet seat. So it's time to do pee-pee. And then I whacked him on his butt. And I said, now we are going, and it hurt, it stings, as you know. Doesn't cause damage because of all the fat there. That's why the butt is the best place, but it stings. So I said, now when we go back out there, I'm not going to hear a word out of you, and we are going to leave to go home without you saying another word. Well, that was the last of it. That was, he never had to be corrected again. It was a real shock for him. I also remember other times when the children, 4 of them, I'd be transporting them to some function on their behalf or whatever, and they'd start in the back, amongst themselves, And I had this habit of, I didn't try to yell, and I never yelled and screamed at the children. That was just not my way. And I never swore at them. But on a couple of occasions, because it only took 1 or 2 times, I pulled the van over and just stopped. I didn't say a single word. But they all knew that if they wanted to get to where they wanted to go, then they'd better shut up and behave. And there was one time I did use the word, shut up. And it shocked them so much that they did. Oh. Anyway, things like that. But the point is, discipline is necessary. There is a scripture about not sparing the rod, and particularly for very strong-willed children.
It was Jimmy.
Oh, Jimmy.
Got that much that comes in. He asked, he said, do people send? And
yes.
It said cut off.
Yes, I thought this would happen. I was thinking about it this morning. We'll have to call him back after the show. Yeah. Anyway. That's just...
Is Perry still waiting, I guess?
Yes, he must be. Anyway, so that's, just small things like that. It is about disciplining the child so that they understand that this is the way to behave.
Because Adam grew up to be a spray painting lunatic, sucking drugs and everything else.
Anyway, but
he did have a good start.
Yes, he did have a good start. And, of course, he's over all of that now, working out his own demons and all the rest of it. And, anyway, so, mob rule. Yeah, well,
there is also predetermined characteristics in the human beings you can't do anything about. I met a lady and a gentleman one time that I was doing a little job for. They had this lovely girl, she's about an 8 or 9 year old, lovely child. They were lovely people, and the son was the biggest arsehole you've ever met in your life. He would set fire to the house or the school or anything else. He was a complete and utter lunatic. And they asked me, said, how can this be? We are, they're good people and they have good genes, everything like that. It's just some people are born that way. It's the demons within them. Can't do anything about it. Best off taking them out and shooting them.
Yes.
Hail Hitler, I say. Even Hitler wouldn't have done that.
Anyway, yes, Mark, as we were talking about this, to get everything on film when having conversations with these people, the police and social services over there, which people are doing. They've learned to do that, but seriously, not opening the door to any of them. Treat them as
you are in a state of war. This is the whole point, and it's a war you don't know you're in. But unless you can walk down the street with your head held high and be able to walk and be able to smack your child on the bum if it needs to, you're the sovereign over your child, and no one can say to you shouldn't do that because of some bloody bullshit Jewish psychological Freudian bloody idea. Tell them to get stuffed. That's the kind of rule that you will have in the kingdom. Right? No one will be able to dominate you.
Now, we were down at the local cafe last week when watched. There was a mother with her 2 small children and obviously taking her own mother, it could have even been her grandmother, out to have a coffee, trying to enjoy the time with the grandmother. And she'd been warning one of her children. It looked like the oldest one was sitting there behaving himself, as the oldest usually does. But the other child was just being a ratbag, and she'd told him not, and then he ran out to stand behind. It turned out to be their vehicle. We didn't know it at the time. It turned out to be their vehicle, so he's completely disobeyed her. Well, she went and she grabbed him by the, and she did. She whacked him publicly and told him and dragged him back and sat him in his chair. And Yah sitting there saying, good for her, would you like me to take the child out? He has no time for children who just so blatantly disobey their parents.
Well, the little bug was standing to be right behind the wheel of this big 4x4. And of course, if anyone was to get in it and back up, then the kid's dead, right?
Yeah.
So the mother was rightly showing him that you don't do that. Well, that little bugger, he went on and on and on and on and screaming and carrying on. I would have been into him real quick.
Well, she was, and
yeah, but he was still going on after.
He was crying because now he was hurt. He was crying from the smacking and the.
No, it was because he couldn't get away with it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, she. So there was no.
Well, she should get a medal.
Yeah, totally. I mean, here's God sitting there saying, "Right, you want me to put the little."
Seen and heard, as they say.
Yeah. Yes. Oh dear, oh dear.
You've got to have discipline. So unless you have discipline in a child, when it grows up, it will be a monster.
Yeah. Now, there's another letter that needs to be read. This is the one that Jonas sent. I'll have to bring it up. Jonas sent to the Harvey Bay Police. Want me to bring that?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, actually hasn't heard it yet. I did read it yesterday, but I do have it downloaded somewhere. I think. Documents. Here it is. Just bringing it up.
I can't stress how much I appreciate you people that's got the intelligence to recognise what we are up to and who we are.
Yeah. All
It's
right,
been
here
a
it
very
is.
long, drawn-out war on my behalf. Then to have people actually appreciate it is rather...
All right, here
All right.
it is. Monday, July the 6th, to the officer in charge. I'm writing to you regarding a man going by the name Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, aka legally known as Lord Yahweh, Lord Jesus Christ Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall. This man has taken me all the way to the Vatican to find some truth in his claims regarding the In Christum Credent written by Pope Benedict, where it was proven to be true to me through a German priest on Vatican grounds that cited the document and assured me it was true and was written by Pope Benedict. He also exclaimed his sympathy for the current position Pope Benedict is placed in. I have met this man personally, and being at an arm's length from many prominent people, including prime ministers and superstar actors, I have found him to be uniquely different from any person I have ever met, along with his wife. Furthermore, I have spent months researching his information, although my biggest concern is the fate of Pope Benedict's murdered assistant, Giuseppe Ciavello, with many complaints brought to various law enforcement agencies where all were ignored. Even communications to the nuncio in Canberra, in brackets, direct communication to the current Jesuit Pope, regarding Mr. Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall's claims of the letter In Christum Credent written by Pope Benedict regarding its authenticity have been ignored. I, as a Catholic, also completely being ignored, without the courtesy of a reply from several months ago, which only reinforces my belief that he is the returned Christ. As I stated previously, I have met this man personally, and he allowed me to look at his wounds, although I refused to look further after seeing the puncture scars on his feet. Again, I have had an injury in the past that punctured my hand above my thumb, and his marks are undoubtable scars from puncture wounds, although the scarring is of a bright white colour I have never seen on a scar before. Regardless of what I have stated, I'm not in a position of authority to pursue this gentleman's cause, which is solely to tell the world the truth about who and what runs the media to manipulate the masses, along with a banking and legal system that is now completely based on profit to keep up with technology, apart from the officers that joined to genuinely assist the public and protect members in the community that I'm sure deep down completely disagree with many orders they have been forced to carry out, although they have families to feed and educate also. If the officer in charge is reading this letter, I implore you to investigate this gentleman and analyse his documents and his communication to the Vatican, and the document In Christum Credent, which is digitally signed by Pope Benedict, and the DNA proof of his own blood that was tested in New South Wales that proves he has no physical father, along with the murder of Giuseppe Ciavello that has been committed. And he goes on, my friend, I'm sure you're not totally unaware and can see the world heading on a downward spiral where many indecencies are becoming the norm today and current technology is being abused. As you have access to forensic investigators, again I implore you to investigate Mr. Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall's claims to him being the returned Christ and the true heir to the throne of England, as incredible as it may seem. A detailed forensic analysis of his scarred tissue all over his body that is identical to the Shroud of Turin would also be advantageous, as I have no doubt he would also comply. Actually, he has told everybody in the past, fuck you. There's more evidence in the record, sorry John, but
Yeah, that's right.
there's more record in the measuring of the earth. This is a polite way of getting
nudge to the
authorities who won't dare come near.
Well, the last time they come out here, they quietly spoke to me and asked me if I was Brian. Usually they come to the door with their arms on their bloody hips and they have papers in their hands or whatever, and they're standing there like guards, and they'll confront you aggressively and call your name. This time, is that you, Brian? Very nice, really.
Anyway, John continues, because this is a brilliant letter. You can see the angle that he's taken. He's not coming on as some kind of a crazed follower, whatever, but somebody who wants to get to the bottom of the truth, as he has done from the beginning and as a Catholic. He says, as it is very easy for me to request all this through a letter, and most probably to conduct an investigation such as this would require approval from those above you. He says, where I'm sure you may be bitterly counselled as a disobedient child to stay clear of anything that may prove his claims to be truthful and correct. Eventually, those remaining stagnant in positions of authority, who are either oblivious or threatened by what's going on around them, will become more aware and conscious of how it is affecting them and their family directly. Nevertheless, sometimes I myself cannot comprehend at times this existence, even through factual research of his claims, of who he is, and even with a verification from a German priest in the Vatican, Rome. But my reassurance is that of doors that are violently slammed in my face from the media, government officials, and even representatives of the Catholic Church via the Vatican Nuncio, Canberra, without even denying or rebutting his claims. Personally, I would consider myself extremely lucky to be living in the vicinity of this man to sit and talk to, although that would depend on the amount psychological conditioning you have unknowingly undertaken. Anyway, with his followers and saints, as he calls them, growing at an exponential rate, I certainly wouldn't want to be left out in the cold or in the fires of hell, whichever way you want to look at it. I have worked closely with the New South Wales Police at one stage, being a licensed security officer, and know how dangerous the job can be. So I wish you guys all the best up there, and would appreciate any official evidence pertaining to Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall's claims regarding the In Christum Credent, and why absolutely no action has been taken to investigate a man's murder in the Vatican, or even an audience with Pope Benedict for some confirmation of his document. I would lastly appreciate an extended amount of courtesy toward this gentleman and his wife, should you require his presence or communication with him, which I'm sure he would gladly return. Yours sincerely, John, with his name and address being in Sydney, New South Wales. So, good one, John, once again.
Very good, yeah.
And like the approach, it is much appreciated. Will it be actioned? Well, we'll find out, won't we?
Look, I think these people might look into things privately, but not officially.
Well, they are restrained, and even if they...
The only way to get the police to move is to make a complaint against someone, and they have to act on it. So, complaining against me to have them investigate a certain avenue of thought is probably the best way to get some action, and then they'll end up walking away with the tail between their legs like a dog that they are. As if I was a copper, nothing would stop me. But then again, a lot of you out there would say the same thing. Policemen are what they are. They're in there for their superannuation when they retire, when they get $2 million payout, or whatever the case may be. They don't want to jeopardise that. And a law comes through from the magistrate or the court and says, do this, do that. They just follow it like a trained seal. So, independent thought doesn't happen.
All right. Okay. I'm just reading what's going on over here in the chat room. Past lives, karma, soul stuff, then physical stuff such as genetics,
Well, I'll just give
nature,
a little
nurture,
reading
environment,
here.
education. Right.
This is Luke 11:24, and I read it yesterday, and I'll read it again, and I'll explain it what the concordance say about it. And it goes like this: when the unclean spirit is born out of a man, he walketh through dry places seeking rest, and findeth none. He saith, I will return unto my house whence I came out. Now, I'll explain what it is, and then we'll go through the concordance. At death, the unclean spirit is gone. We're not talking about walking up, laying hands on someone and say, get the fuck out. We're talking about death. All right? So, the house that he's going to return to is the one that's going to be reincarnated, and the unclean spirit is waiting to go back into the house that's going to be reconstituted back onto the earth. Reincarnation. However, if you go on further after this verse, this is Luke 11:24, it talks about he brings back 7 demons worse than himself. So, how do we know that we're actually talking about demons here and we're talking about house, etc.? Well, let's go back through it. He's saying, I will return unto my house whence I came out. So it is claimed that the house is a person which is his. Okay, so we'll go back and we'll look at the word house and see what it says. It is the word oiskos, a dwelling, more or less extensive, literal or figuratively, by implication, a family, more or less related, literally or figuratively, home, house, or temple, which is the temple of God, which is the human body. So it's saying here family, right? So he's going to go back into that family. That's the important point here. Now we go up to a word where it says return. And he says to return literally or figuratively, come again, return again, back again, turn back into again, to turn under or behind, to return into. And it's, I will return into my house. I will return into my chosen family. I will return into that child and bring with it. Right? Now, when the demon is cast out, it goes through dry places. And it finds seeking rest, but it can't find rest. And the word rest is, it literally, recreation, rest. Where it goes through places. And it is a spot, generally a space, but limited by occupancy, whereas in the number 5561, which we won't go there, is a large but participle locality, location, position, home, tract, etc., condition, opportunity, specifically a scabbard, in other words, going back into, coast, licensed place, plain, quarter, rock, room, where. Okay, so the last ones are just going a bit off on the tangent there. But to go back into its home is what it's saying there. So, when the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places because he's not in his home. Right? Now, the word dry is waterless, without water, without living water. That's what that means. So there's nothing for it to feast upon. And it walketh through dry places. So look at that. When it's come, walketh, what is it? To traverse, literally come, depart, go, about, abroad, everywhere. Through, throughout, pass, over, through, pierce, through, travel, walk, through. Okay. It's referring to it as a he, but in actual fact it's a she. The man, of course, is the 444 number. A certain means being specific, a certain man. So when the unclean, so we look at the word unclean, meaning cleansed, impure, ceremonially or morally lewd or specifically demonic, foul and unclean. So there's no getting around what this is saying. When the demonic spirit, so we go to the word spirit, which is spirit, a current or breath of human or rational soul. So when it goes back into the soul, the unclean spirit goes back into the soul, and it is cast out of a man, so that word is a human being. So the number Luke 24, which is the verse number, you can look that up as well. And you can always do this when they have specifically important verses. And it's saying a holy writ, or its contents, or a statement of fact. In it, a scripture. Okay, that is in Greek. We'll look at 11:24 in Hebrew. And to build, to make a home. And the 11:29, now this is a good one. It's from 11:29. To obtain children. Begins to attain children. So in other words, it keeps on going to attain. The demonic force is to attain children. Keep on doing it, keep on doing it, keep on doing it. Until the world is today what it is. Where you can't even walk out in the street. And a woman can be walking down the street in London or somewhere and be attacked by somebody and people will drive past. In fact, I've got a friend of mine, I use the term loosely, which I've known for a very long period of time, would come around to my house by divine guidance. He showed up, appeared at my door, and we've become friends in the sense of sharing a lot of information because he's mad as a hatter. But the point is, he would see things, and we would sit at the computer, and we were talking about yesterday about miracles, that what's it like to live with me and see miracles all the time. Well, when Grant would come around to my house, I would show him dozens of miracles. And all of a sudden he'd go into a trance and his hands would be stuck up in the bloody air and he'd be yabbling on in some bullshit Hebrew tongue, which of course is what they do in these churches. They speak in bullshit language. But he'd be gabbling on, and he always said the same thing, because I've got a very good memory. He always said the same thing over and over and over again, which was just made up Hebrew. Bullshit Hebrew. And the demons within him would overcome him. Now his father had disappeared in Australia. He was from New Zealand. Had disappeared and never heard no more of him. But his grandfather had 12 children, his father being one of them. And one mealtime, the father got up and took out a cutthroat razor and sliced his own throat in front of the children. Understand where this is coming from? The demons went out of him into the father, went out of the father into Grant. It's looking for children. So that's the point I'm trying to make, and that is Luke 11:24. You can read that whole verse and one's prior to it and one's after it. Give you some idea what I'm talking about. But that is a fact. Now, not all the Bible is going to be true, but when you get a verse like this, when you go through each number in the concordance and you can look it up, and by the way, concordances are also manipulated. For example, God will prove by coincidence as the word has been changed to fulfill. Like, what the fuck's that mean? The number is 378. Okay? So, God will prove by coincidence has become fulfilled? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But that's what it means. So that's what you've got to have me to point out to you for. Now, with a verse like Luke 11:24, it is confirming itself in the verse number, and another one you might say would be similar to that would be John 8:44. He's talking about the Jews and who are descendants of Cain, the first murderer. He doesn't say Cain, he says the first murderer. Well, who's the first murderer? Cain. So you are of your father the devil, Cain. Okay? And the will of your father you will do. He was a murderer and a liar from the beginning, something like that. And the verse number 844 means spontaneous of own accord. So therefore it confirms that verse as being accurate. It doesn't matter what it says before it if it's not confirmed. If it's confirmed by the same manner, fine. If it isn't confirmed, then you have to look at it with a grey area. But what we do know is that from now on, you can contact me and I'll point it out for you, that 99% of the Bible is a misconception bullshit thing that is only confirmed by the verses like where the word comforter is found in 7 verses. And I'll give the verse number so you look them up and do the mathematics yourself if you like, because it's a very important word. This is probably the most important 7 verses in the entire Bible. That's ECC, what the hell that is. Ecclesiastes 4:1, Lamentations 1:9, Lamentations 1:16, John 14:16, John 14:26, John 15:26, and John 16:7. Now, the fact that we now know where I was raised until I was 942 days old, that's how many times the word Jesus is found, in the original 1611 King James Bible. They've probably changed the bloody thing since then, because as soon as I say something, they go and change it. So, if you can get hold of the original 1611 online, which is very difficult to do, I assure you, that is why in the future you'll have copies of my software which you can say, well, this is how I did it, and therefore this is what it's all based on. So it's 942 verses, that's fine. Now, 942 days old when we moved on the 222nd day of the year. Hello, I weigh 222 pounds. That's how many times the word Jesus is found and how many times the word truth is found. So what's it all mean? Well, the reality is that if you add those verses up, and I'll give you the numbers slowly, just add them up this way: 4.1, 1.9, 1.16, 14.16, 14.26, 15.26, and 16.7. You add those all up, it's going to give you the area of the larger piece of the Shroud of Turin, which is 6'7", what the hell is it? 5'4". Square inches. So the larger piece of the shroud, which I've been bombarding these shroud researchers, is that the shroud is made of 2 pieces of cloth, not one. One is 39.5 by 171 inches, which gives you that number, 0.5. So it's 175.5. The 5 is the Father. What it's saying is, it is the ghost, because that number is Teslim in Hebrew, and it means ghost or image. So it's the image of the Father. Like, hello. It's that easy. And the Comforter is measuring from where I was 942 days old till we finally moved to the South Pole, is the number for Comforter, which is the number 3875. It is that simple. It's a slam dunk. See you later. Now, anybody in the world who would look at that and then look at the face on the Shroud of Turin would have to be convinced that the Pope was right. It's that simple. It's easy. You would expect that the Creator would create the earth and everything in it and everything pertaining to the second coming, including the Shroud of Turin, which is a miracle upon miracle upon miracle that you'll never be able to understand. But it's just scientists from all around the world have been completely stumped by what caused this image to occur. It's got 3D images in it. For example, it jumps out at you. It's the only piece of work in the world that has that quality. So, with that, if the world was all given that information simultaneously, regardless of the fact that it might be held by a Catholic Church, which is a beast, everyone would agree on that. But all scientists would have to say, just a second, we're going to look at this closely. So what they're going to do is they're going to try and stop you and me and everybody else surrounding us to get the word out. But the point is, you're dealing with God here. It's inevitable. And that is why The world has to crash into the demons that it is, and then the demons have to be rooted out. And that is why we go back to Luke 11:24.
Now, just all right, there's a debate going on there. Here, a third of the angels, the total angels in the heavenly realm, a third of them were cast to the earth. They are the fallen angels. The 2/3 remain as the holy angels,
Yep.
which are the reapers, working for Yahweh. So the 2/3 overcome the 1/3 that are on the earth. And
They've just got to get it.
yeah, anyway, they've...
They're coming. That's what Nibra is all about.
All right, we're out of time again, and we've got
Okay.
things to do, so
We've got to
we're
make a
going
phone
to...
call.
Yes. All right, out with the choir, and then we'll be back tomorrow. Oh, actually, I've got a house inspection tomorrow.
Who cares? Come on, don't worry about it.
Later, Gators.
The Go Lightly Martial Hour on freedomtalkradio.net.
Thank you all again for being over in the chat room. It makes all the difference. And we'll talk to you
Love you guys.
later. All right, bye.